Good evening, this is Isabel. Today I'm going to talk about the topic that I chose on the final paper, that is the essay, and regarding the uh, postmodernism topic. And I chose the inclusive language. Okay, so I think that is like a branch from language itself. That is something about a topic that is currently in our in our social context and cultural context in this generation specifically. So I think that is important because it's also controversial, or it has been problematic somehow, as not people accept it, or not all people think that it is necessary, or is doing something to get things better. Like it's not going to change anything just to use an inclusive language. It's not going to change any context. It's not going to change the other individual, but just make things complicated. Some people think that, and some others are in favor. So it is very controversial, like a political topic. But it has been not only political, but it has been affected, also in classrooms and on education himself. So I think that is very important to talk about that, and also to think about the implications that this topic may have, and also trying to look that topic from a critical perspective, and try to look for maybe solutions or some things that could help to not just criticize that, but maybe try to see like the background, or what is that coming from, from the youth and the girls and boys from the generation. So why they think that is important, or why should we include that, or how it's going to change or to solve, some problems. So it is part of the language. It has been part of the language, and it's also it's just like a critique, could be, or something like they think that it's necessary to include all genders and sex, and the ways that you identify as a person, and in this kind of discourse, like it is important. But it's also problematic because it turns, or it could ends up like a redundant speech or discourse, and also not being so effective in the communication. So with that in mind, I talk about the three authors, like what will be the perspective of the three authors that we discuss in class, like Mr. Fukuyama, Mr. Pinker, and Helen and James, the last book, about this topic. What will be the ideas that they probably will have about this, regarding all the how they developed all these ideas that they have on these books. So yeah, on the point of view that we can think about Fukuyama, is that it's just a seek of recognition that that the current generation wants to have regarding this, because they somehow have been felt marginalized, and linguistic marginalized, or yeah, something like that, in this area, or in this the way that people refer to them, and mostly women or girls, but also trans people, or the LGBT community nowadays, and also the no-binary people nowadays, that they identify as no-binary. So that is very problematic himself because of that. So is the way that we have always have been used, I'm sorry, is the way that we always have used the language until now. And it's also like a neutral kind of semantic discourse, or semantic approach, like a is the way grammatically we have always used it. but it's also we are only on the patriarchally side, so it could feel like maybe we are just defended, or we are thinking that maybe it's more important to see just the main perspective, and we are including all by saying all or all people, or but we are not including maybe women or girls or something like that, but we are just doing like a generalized speech or discourse. And this generation is demanding like that needs to be changed, because maybe they are not feeling included, or they are not feeling that they are part of the contest, so we are excluding those peoples. But it's also if you just try to think on all of them people that they are in the public, or they could be hearing, it's going to result, it's going to be like a redundant speech. So it is also problematic because of that, because it's going to have like a lack of communication. The communication is not going to be so effective or so cleared in that point of view. But it is understood, like the point of view for all this generation that wants to change that, but it's also problematic because of that. So on Fukuyama, we can see that point of view, like maybe it's just a seek of recognition. On Mr. Pinker, we can think that it's just something that evolves, and it could be something biological as well, as once you want. Like in the language itself, you can see the recognition of other. If you treat people like they want to be treated, they are going to feel part of the contest, part of the conversation. They're going to feel included, you know. So on the language itself, there is also power, because you either exclude someone from your speech, or also include someone there. So it's just part of the approximation that you have to the other. And on the last authors on the last book, James, and also Helen, we can see that this is also problematic, because this could be like an ideological part, and it's also an ideological position and political position, because it seems like an imposition and like a polarization, because it divides people, not because of maybe they want to include, but it's also dividing people, because not all people think in that way, not all people think this is necessary. So they think that this is ideological, like an ideological discourse. It also needs to take into account that we need to respect the people, or the opinion of the people who are not agree, or who disagree with this, and just think about the ideologies, the different ideologies that we all have, and not try to be like an impose, or maybe try to think on the perspective of the other. So that would be like a maybe like a inference that we can make from this book, like from what the authors think about these kind of postmodernisms topics nowadays. But now the solution or the author, before I provide the solution, the author that I choose also, besides these books, also to back up my essay, was Adriana Bolivar. It's an academic article from 2019. She's a linguistic, and she has a PhD on linguistic, on the linguistic field. And she talked about in this article about it's a critique also on the inclusive language. It's a critique. So she talks about how inclusive language is important, and it should be like a topic when all the diversity that we have fits in that. It shouldn't be like an exclusion, but as the name says, it should be like an inclusion. But she says that, or she mentioned that is also it needs to be natural. Mm, and whenever in through the history the language has had any change, like verbally and also grammatically, is because has been part of a social, not a social discussion but a social interaction. So if my discourse or my or what I tend or I try to change on in this case on the language is not it has not been part of the or a social interaction, it shouldn't be part of the grammar as well or on the inclusion itself. Because for example in Spanish we have like on writing we have like todes, we have todos with an X in the vowel, and we have like todes but with an at, like an arroba. So it's very difficult to say that on the speech, but it's very easy to write that. Like it is understood, but it shouldn't be part of the language, the inclusive language, as there is no way to communicate that or to say that. You are going to get lost on the discourse. You are not going to have like an effective communication. So as long as it's part of the social interaction and you can communicate with someone, maybe to say, oh, I identify myself like I don't know, you can call me blue because I feel like a color, something like that. I don't know. As long as you can say that in orally, as long as you can understand, the other person can understand, and something like that, it should be included because it's just part of the treatment that you are giving to the other person. So it's just to look for an effective way to communicate that. But if it is not being part of that social interaction, it shouldn't be included grammatically or on the dictionary, because it's not going to work. Like it's just a distortion. It's going to distortion the language. It's just a distortion of the language. So she mentioned that because she thinks that it's just this we are distorting the language itself by thinking about that, but thinking in that way, as we cannot include that verbally. So there are another ways that we can use the inclusive language but not being so ridiculous, maybe. She didn't mention that, but maybe she was thinking about that because sometimes it goes so far, like the inclusion, or nowadays like they are forcing things is going too far, and they are not thinking maybe what will be the right way, what will be like the better way to do it, or to try to think in all people try to think that is something that is just because it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic. It's not something that it should be discarded. It should be taken into account, but in the proper way. So with that in mind, with all of this reference from these authors, I came to a solution, and I think that maybe not a solution that is going to solve this, but maybe it's just more a talk or an initiative, that we can try to not to exclude inclusive language, but also to include it as they want to include it, but because it's very interesting, but it's also ideologically. So first, we need to take to consider that we all have different ideologies. We all think on gender and sex and identities in different ways. So just trying to think maybe in that way first, and also to respect the diversity, to respect others, and to try to communicate, to have a good communication with the other, and how the other wants to be called or something like that. And then you can take that to your discourse or to the speech, and try to refer to the other in that way, and not also trying to impose that, because it shouldn't be an imposition, but also like leave everyone choose, or like to let everybody choose how they want to choose the language, because the language belongs to all of us, to all of us. So we can use it as long as we do it respectfully. I think that we can also always use it in the way that we want to use it. So that would be like my reflection, and also like an initiative to think about, and also it's a recognition for the other, and it's also um, um, thinking the difference in the differences that we have, because we are all different, so we all think different. Thank you so much.